Jai Hind children, I am Smita VP from Science Department. Today we are going to start a new chapter, that is heat. Children, imagine a freezing cold earth or an earth that is burning hot. What will happen? Nothing would survive, isn't it? So heat is important for life, but it must be just right. Neither too hot nor too cold. As we all know, our Earth is well equipped as a planet and ideally placed in the solar system to support life in it. In this chapter, we will discuss what we mean by hot and cold and how things get heated or cooled. To begin with, let's see what heat is. So, what do you mean by heat? Heat is a form of energy. Then what do you mean by energy? Energy is the capacity to do work. Do you know any other forms of energy? Energy exists in several forms such as light energy, sound energy, electrical energy, heat energy, wind energy, and so on. Energy can be converted into one form to another. For example, in an electric bulb, electric energy is converted into light energy and heat energy. Now we studied heat is a form of energy. If heat is a form of energy and energy is the capacity to do work, then heat must be able to perform work, right?
Consider the following examples. When you heat a pan of water, the water at the bottom rises. What gives the water the energy to rise is heat. Heat gives steam the energy to lift the weight of the lid in case of pressure cooker.
In our day-to-day life, we come across a number of objects. Some of them are hot and some of them are cold. Also, we know that some objects are hotter than others while some are colder than others. How do we decide which object is hotter than other? We often do it by touching the objects. For example, when you touch an ice cube, you say that it is cold. On the other hand, when you touch a cup of tea, you say that it is hot. It would actually be more correct to say that ice cube is colder than your hand and tea is hotter than your hand. Actually, you are comparing the degree of hotness or coldness of another body with that of your hand. Is our sense of touch reliable? That means, can we trust our sense of touch always? The following activity will make this clearer. Take 3 bowls, A, B and C. Then fill A with cold water, B with hot water and mix some hot and cold water in bowl C. Now I dip my left hand in bowl A and my right hand in bowl B. After 2 to 3 minutes, put both hands simultaneously in bowl C. Do both the hands get same feeling? My left hand tells me that the water in bowl C is hot and the right hand tells me that the same water in bowl C is cold. That is, the hotness or coldness of something is relative. It depends on what you are comparing it with. This shows that we cannot always rely or depend on our sense of touch to decide whether an object is hot or cold. Sometimes it may confuse us. Then how do we find out how hot an object really is? By measuring its temperature. Then what do you mean by temperature? A reliable measure of the hotness of an object is called its temperature. Temperature is measured by a device called thermometer. Have you seen a thermometer? When you or someone else in your family had fever, the temperature was measured by using a thermometer, isn't it? So the thermometer which measures our body temperature is called a clinical thermometer.
Let us understand about clinical thermometer. It is a long narrow tube with same thickness throughout the length. On one side of this tube, there is a bulb which contains mercury. For reading the temperature, there is a scale printed on thermometer. Normal temperature of human body is 37 degrees Celsius. The temperature of human body does not go below 35 degrees Celsius or above 42 degrees Celsius. That is why clinical thermometer has a range 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. Here you must have understood that 35 and 42 are numbers and degree Celsius is the unit of temperature. So the scale we use in clinical thermometer is Celsius scale. There is a very fine tube which originates from the bulb. It is called capillary tube. With rising temperature, mercury expands in this tube. The capillary tube is bent near the bulb and is called kink. It prevents the mercury from flowing back into the bulb immediately. It gives more time to read the temperature. See the second thermometer in this figure. The other scale with the range 94 to 108 degrees is the Fahrenheit scale. It was in use earlier. India has adopted the Celsius scale and we are using that scale. We already said that for reading the temperature, there is a scale printed on thermometer. To get more correct readings, there are some readings between two consecutive numbers. There are bigger and smaller marks. First, note the temperature difference indicated between the two bigger marks. Also note down the number of divisions between the bigger marks. Suppose the bigger marks read 1 degree and there are 10 divisions between them, then one small division can read 1 by 10, that is 0.1 degree Celsius. And if there are 5 divisions between them, then one small division can read 1 by 5, that is 0.2 degree Celsius. Do you know how to measure your body temperature using a clinical thermometer? Place the thermometer under your tongue. Keep it teased for 1 minute and let the mercury expand in the tube. And now take the thermometer out and find out the reading shown by the mercury. Just now you have identified your body temperature. Here is the sample value which is showing 37 degrees Celsius and 0.4 degrees Celsius, that is 37.4 degrees Celsius. For measuring temperature, there are units other than Celsius, such as Fahrenheit and Kelvin. Kelvin is the SI unit of temperature. On Celsius scale, the melting point of ice is 0 degrees Celsius and the boiling point of water is taken as 100 degrees Celsius. In Fahrenheit scale, melting point of ice is taken as 32 degree Fahrenheit and boiling point of water is taken as 212 degree Fahrenheit. In Kelvin scale, melting point of ice is taken as 273 Kelvin and boiling point of water is taken as 373 Kelvin. Let us look how Celsius scale, Fahrenheit scale, Kelvin scale are related. These are the conversion formulas. Precautions to be observed while using a clinical thermometer. Thermometer should be washed before and after use, preferably with an antiseptic solution. Ensure that before use the mercury level is below 35 degrees Celsius. Read the thermometer keeping the level of mercury along the line of sight. Handle the thermometer with care. If it hits against some hard object, it can break. Don't hold the thermometer by the bulb while reading it.
Always remember, never use a clinical thermometer for measuring the temperature of hot objects other than human body. It may break. So how do we measure the temperature of other objects? For this purpose, we use other thermometers. One such thermometer is laboratory thermometer.
Let us understand about laboratory thermometer.
See, this is a laboratory thermometer. Look at it carefully and try to note the highest and lowest temperature it can measure. The lowest temperature it can measure is minus 10 degree Celsius. See, this 10 is marked below 0, so it is minus 10 degree Celsius. And the highest temperature it can measure is 110 degree Celsius. That is, this 10 added to 100, that is 110 degree Celsius.
Laboratory thermometer. It is used to measure the temperature of different objects in the laboratory. The scale of laboratory thermometer is minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. A laboratory thermometer is bigger in size than clinical thermometer. Precautions. In addition to the precautions to be taken while reading a clinical thermometer, the laboratory thermometer should be kept upright and not tilted when making measurement. Bulb should be surrounded from all sides by the substance of which the temperature is to be measured. The bulb should not touch the surface of the container. This is an alcohol thermometer. Here the rising liquid is not mercury. In this alcohol thermometer, the liquid used can be pure ethanol or kerosene. Since they are transparent, the liquid is made more visible by the addition of a red or blue dye. Here a red dye is used. Let us look how the laboratory thermometer works. Take some tap water in a glass. Dip the thermometer in water so that the bulb is immersed in water but does not touch the bottom or the sides of the container. Hold the thermometer vertically. Note the reading. This is the temperature of water at that time. Now it is showing a reading near to 30 degrees Celsius, almost about 29 degrees Celsius. Take some hot water in a beaker or glass. Dip thermometer in water. Now you can see that mercury level rises in the capillary tube. Wait till the mercury thread becomes steady and note the temperature. Now it is showing a reading near to 72 degrees Celsius. When you take the thermometer out of hot water, you can see level of mercury begins to fall and comes back to room temperature. This is because laboratory thermometer does not have a kink to prevent mercury level from falling on its own. So temperature must be read while the laboratory thermometer is in contact with water. Why does the mercury in a thermometer rise when you dip the bulb in a beaker of hot water? Because heat makes it expand. Just for your information, all substances, whether solid, liquid or gases, expand when they are heated and contract when they are cooled. However, the extent to which they expand is different. Expansion is the greatest in gases, less in liquids, and the least in solids. You have studied about clinical thermometer and laboratory thermometer, isn't it? Now you try to make a comparison between them. We know that different types of thermometers are used for different purposes. The maximum and minimum temperatures of the previous day reported in weather reports are measured by a thermometer called the maximum and minimum thermometer. There is a lot of concern over the use of mercury in thermometers. Mercury is a toxic substance and is very difficult to dispose of if a thermometer breaks. These days, digital thermometers are available which do not use mercury. Go through the important points once more. Heat is a form of energy. Temperature, a reliable measure of the hotness of an object. Then scales used to measure temperature, Celsius scale, Fahrenheit scale, Kelvin scale. Kelvin scale is the SI unit of temperature. Then temperature is measured using a device called thermometer. There are different types of thermometers used for different purposes. They are clinical thermometer, laboratory thermometer, maximum and minimum thermometer, and digital thermometer. What all things you studied about clinical thermometer? The thermometer that measures our body temperature is called a clinical thermometer. Clinical thermometer consists of a long, narrow, uniform glass tube. It has a bulb at one end. This bulb contains mercury. Outside the bulb, a small shining thread of mercury can be seen. The normal temperature of human body is 37 degrees Celsius. The temperature of human body normally does not go below 35 degrees Celsius or 42 degrees Celsius. This is the reason that clinical thermometer has the range 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. Clinical thermometer has a kink in it. This prevents mercury level from falling on its own as thermometer is taken out. About precautions to be observed while reading thermometer. Next, Comparison between clinical and laboratory thermometer. Clinical thermometer is used to measure temperature of human body. Laboratory thermometer is used to measure temperature of different objects in the laboratory. Thermometer has a range of 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. Here thermometer has a range from minus 10 degrees Celsius to 110 degree Celsius. There is a kink near the bulb to prevent the fall of mercury level. Here no kink is present, so mercury level falls automatically. Temperature can be read after removing from the source. Temperature is read while being in contact with the source. Now you have to write the following questions in your science notebook and submit it to concerned teachers before next science class. Questions. What is temperature? Name the scales used to measure it. Second one, clinical thermometer has a range of 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. Why is it so? Third one, why does the mercury not fall or rise in a clinical thermometer when taken out of mouth? Fourth question, explain clinical thermometer. Write the precautions to be observed while using a clinical thermometer. Then fifth question, distinguish between clinical and laboratory thermometer. That's all for today's class. Thank you.